Let's talk about the new voice triggers that HCS has made for their voice packs. They'll allow you to modify the voice commands to suit your personal usage. This method has changed from previous methods, so you'll need to use this moving forward. One nice thing, in the near future, you'll be able to select your particular language template so you can use your own language when issuing commands. We'll get more into this later. For now, let's get going. Alright, I'm going to assume that you've downloaded and updated your voice attack, your newest HCS voice packs, and everything's up and running and you're good to go. Now, in my voice attack, in my computer install, it's in a secure location, so I have to run mine as administrator. You may not have to do this. Varies. Okay, so I'm starting up voice attack. It loads up. I'm not seeing any errors. And I'm ready to go. Notice that it says reading in voice triggers from template English. And that is how we're going to edit our voice commands. Because if you go in here and try to edit any of these commands, see, the author says you can't do it via this menu. You have to go into the template and edit from there. And let's get started. Okay, I will enable my microphone. Protocol override, customize my settings.
Customizer opened.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm in the customizer and we've gone over a lot of these tweaks before. Now we'll go into the voice triggers. It'll take a moment to load up. And you're presented with the trigger that is currently loaded. In this case, it's English. Now in this menu, you have all your different command tabs, and you have a help tab. I'm sure everybody's gone through and read this and understands it fully, and that's why you're here. But let's go ahead and go to Profile Control, and I'm going to use this tab to show the different commands and how you edit them. Now, if you direct your attention, this is the voice attack GUI. And these are the commands to change the opacity of this GUI. So I'm going to go ahead and give off, let's say, one of these commands. So I'll turn on my microphone. Change the GUI to 50%.
Affirmative, Commander.
Okay, as you can see, it changed it to 50%. Change the GUI to 100%.
Aye, aye, Commander.
Okay, I'll turn that microphone off. Okay, as you saw, I gave the command to change the opacity of voice attack to 50%. It did it. Then I said go back to 100%, and it did it. And that's how easy it is for voice attack and the voice packs to change your voice commands into actual keyboard commands. Now we're going to talk about some of the rules that you have to follow when you edit these commands. If you follow these rules, you should have no problem editing the commands. Now to start, let's look at these icons here. They will give you information about the command, what the command does, and what you need to say to trigger the command. So in this case, let's look at 100% opacity, and I'll click the eye icon. And let me move this over and maximize it so you can see it again. And you can see I have 4 voice triggers for this. This command here, it sets the voice attack main window to 100% opacity. And these are the 4 different commands I can do. So using this window, I'll discuss the different rules that you have to follow. Remember, this is all in the help. You can read the help, and this will maybe clarify it a little bit more for you. As you can see, I have words that are not in any kind of brackets. They're just written there. These words have to be set. So example here, you see that the word change is in every one of the voice triggers. And the word the, since it's in a bracket, this is considered a dynamic command. So this rule says if something's in a bracket with a semicolon after it, it's optional. As you can see, 2 of the triggers do not have the word the, 2 of them do. And then in this case, this is another rule here, I have multiple words in between brackets, They're separated by a semicolon. There is no semicolon at the end. So that means I have to say at least one of these two words. And as you can see, I have that same thing here. You can have as many words as you want in brackets. You have to say at least one of those words if the semicolon is not the last character before the ending bracket, as you can see here. One of the other rules is that these commands have to be unique. You can't have the same wording for any other command. If you try doing it, it will warn you and say, hey, you have the same command, change it. So don't do that. Okay, so let's actually change some of these commands. So I'm going to go down here to opacity, 100%, and click on the eye icon. This is what I have to say to make this command trigger. That's too wordy, so I'm going to edit this and I'm going to change that to the word max. Make sure I get that space there. Alright, so what this allows me to do, once I hit my eye icon, all I have to do is say this. So I went from 4 to 2 triggers. Now I'm going to apply it, and the voice attack with the plugin recognizes, pulls it directly in. So let's go ahead and say that. Change GUI to 50%.
Understood.
Change GUI to max.
Right away, Commander.
Go to sleep.
Voice control off.
Okay, as you can see, I edited that and it took my change. And now notice that the voice trigger editor has made a custom version of the initial trigger profile or template. So this is how it keeps your changes in the future. Now here is a little catch to. If I put a semicolon after the last word in this dynamic command, remember that will cause this to make this whole string here optional, and I'll update the eye icon. Notice that now I have 2 blanks because there is nothing after this. You don't want to do this a lot. I would recommend not even doing it because you're leaving it open. If you just say change GUI to, voice attack will recognize that and do that command. So if like you get caught off, not saying the full command, it will do it. Depending on what you're doing, that might not be a good thing to do. So you shouldn't leave off, or you shouldn't have a command leave off as a optional at the end to avoid any issues in the future. And there we go, back to normal. Now, one of the strengths that voice attack with the HCS voice packs has is that it integrates with Elite. It knows what mode Elite's in. Like if you're in Super Cruise, if you're hyperspace, if you're landing, docking, it knows that, so it can use that to run the commands properly. But that makes it a problem for people that are editing commands because if you're not in that particular mode, you really can't test it in voice attack. And let's give you an example here. Now I'm in Super Cruise in my Engines tab, and you can see there's multiple commands for running something. So here, engage Super Cruise, and I'll click the icon here, and it tells me that I can only use this command when I'm in normal space. This is what the command does. It also says that if you use these particular commands, they're standby and on my mark commands, you can use the on my mark actions. Anyway, so this particular command has 36 voice triggers. So I can say any of this to go into Super Cruise. Okay. So let's try that. Enable Super Cruise.
Engaging cruise.
Okay, so as you see, it enabled my Super Cruise because my game was left when I was in normal space. So it allows me to go Super Cruise. But if I was docked or landed or as in a fighter SRV, or if I was in Super Cruise or hyperspace, I want to be able to execute these commands. So let's go ahead and close this one. Okay, since I'm not in Super Cruise, this next command, emergency stop, if I check my icon here, it says I have to be in Super Cruise. Even though I had enabled Super Cruise here, I am not actually in Super Cruise because I'm not actually playing the game. I'm just editing these commands. So let's test this one. So I'm going to enable my microphone again. Emergency stop. You see a voice command, ignored it. It's not available while I'm in normal space. And that is one of the problems that you can have when editing these. But in order to test this, you just jump into the game and try it, and it should work. Okay, let's say that you went ahead and you edited all these commands, and there's a whole bunch of them that you're done editing. So you would, normally apply it, and VoiceAttack will accept it, and then you would hit done, and you're back to the customizer window. Now from here, I would immediately say, let's do a backup settings. That will back up into your HCS tools folder in the customizer backups. And when you hit that, it will go ahead and back it up. Since I've already did this in practice, it wants to overwrite it. Say yes. And then if you actually go to that particular folder, which I have here, you see it made a backup. So you always have your information backed up. So if you do an upgrade of that, you can always come back and say restore settings, and it will bring back any settings that you did. So that's really handy to do, and you should do that all the time. That way you don't want to be sad when you lose your settings, especially if you spend a lot of time making them for yourself. And once you make your savings or your backup settings, you save changes.
Settings saved.
And
Customizer closed.
you're ready to go. And you can light off Elite and start playing with it. And let's do a quick test, make sure that everything's stuck. So I'm going to close VA. I'm going to go ahead and open it. It should load up. Now notice it says English Custom, and that's the new one I'm working on. So I'm good to go. Unfortunately, there's no option to delete a custom template that you make here. They are aware of that. I was told that that will be changed in the future. But if you want to go ahead and delete that, what you would need to do is go into your HCS voice pack plugins, voice triggers, and there are your HCS triggers. And there is the custom one. And so you just go ahead and delete it. Now, do not delete the English HCS one. If you do, it won't work unless you have a custom one. So don't do that. And of course, you would come back into here in the game, and you would pick English and say switch to template. So you can switch back and forth between whatever templates you have. And so it'll go ahead and read it in, and it's updating. Now, if for any reason it can't find your custom template, it will always default to the English template. And then you can apply and you're done. Now, another thing you can do is if you want to make a custom template with your name on it pre-ahead, you can just make a copy of the English template and paste it. And of course it's going to ask me if I want to write that in, and I'm just going to rename this to Rookfet. Remember, you keep the extension. And now when I go back into voice triggers, it will load up and it should see Rookfet's voice trigger. Now I haven't made any changes to this, so if I make changes to it, it will come up and say Rookfet custom once I make changes, because it sees it as a valid as a original one. Remember, once you make a change to a template, it will tack on the word custom to it. So there we are. So now we're in. Of course, any changes I made are gone because remember, this is the original copy of this. So let's make a quick change here. And I want to add that to max. And do a quick check. Yep, looks good. And apply it. And you see it said Rookfet Custom. I'll hit done here. Move this over and you can see it made Rookfet Custom. So this would be the one that I'm working on from now on. And that is my original. And I could always go back in there and rename that to something else and continue on the thing. You just have to reload it every time using the voice triggers. That's what this is doing. It's reading through all these. So finally, some of you may have noticed I have a voice trigger pack called French. And what that does is all of my commands are in French. If I could speak French, and if my computer and voice recognition software could recognize French, I could speak French and control the Elite game in French. Since I cannot do any of that, I'm not even going to attempt to try using these because it won't work. My machine's set up for English and I can't speak French. But as you can see, everything is set up just as if it was in English. All the commands are the same. However, some of the commands are baked in with the HCS commands, so those still remain in English because that's how they are initially. But HCS would like other gamers, if you want to do one in your own language, go ahead, make one, send it to them, and they'll check it out, make sure everything works, and if it's passes all the tests, they will include it with the packs, and I'm sure they'll give you a credit line in that. If you want to find out more information about this, be sure to go to their Discord and their forum. They have different language forums that you can talk to other people, and you can set up a voice trigger in your language. So that is a nice little feature that they're having. Look more for those coming out.